Mexico isn't just building a railway anymore, it's quietly rewriting the map of global trade. What started out as a $5 billion infrastructure upgrade, a modest plan to lay down some new tracks and connect the Pacific to the Atlantic, has exploded into a $50 billion transformation that could turn southern Mexico into one of the most important trade corridors on the planet. Yeah, $50 billion. That's 10 times the original plan. And a level of ambition that basically says, move over, Panama. Because here's the thing, this isn't just a line of rails anymore. It's ports, highways, power grids, and industrial parks all meshed together, an entire ecosystem meant to rival the Panama Canal itself. And if it works, it could reshape how goods move around the world forever. This is the Interoceanic Corridor of the Isthmus of Tehuantepec, or if you don't feel like twisting your tongue, just call it the CIT. On paper, it's a 300-kilometer railway linking the Gulf of Mexico with the Pacific Ocean. Simple enough, but the real story isn't the track. It's everything that's growing around it. Along that 300-kilometer line, Mexico is building 9 new industrial parks. Each one is like a specialized mini-city. One for cars, one for electronics, one for logistics, another for petrochemicals, and even zones for renewable energy manufacturing. These places are designed to plug straight into the global supply chain, factories, depots, power stations, and data centers, all bundled together in what the government calls the backbone of a new industrial Mexico. That's a bold line, but they're not wrong to dream big. For decades, Mexico's north has been the country's economic powerhouse. Cities like Monterrey and Tijuana are magnets for factories and foreign investors, while the south, places like Oaxaca and Veracruz, have lagged behind. The Interoceanic Corridor is meant to flip that script. Trade as the great equalizer. Now, at first, everyone thought this was just about trains. $5 billion for some track upgrades, a few port expansions, neat, tidy, manageable. But once construction began, the money floodgates opened. Private investors, not just from Mexico, but from the US, Europe, and even China, started pouring in. American logistics companies see this as a shortcut between the two coasts. Why send your cargo ships through the Panama Canal with its tolls and delays when you can rail containers across Mexico in less time? Meanwhile, Chinese firms, already deeply involved in Mexico's manufacturing scene, view it as a potential node of the Belt and Road Initiative. That's right, even Beijing has its eyes on Mexico. And European companies, especially from Spain and Germany, are jumping on the renewable energy side, setting up solar farms, hydrogen plants, and smart grids to power the new industrial zones. According to Mexico's government, over $45 billion in investment commitments have already been confirmed for the corridor and its connected projects. And they're not stopping at factories. There's a new airport in Ixtepec, upgraded highways linking all the way to Guatemala, and new pipelines feeding refineries and export terminals. They're even laying down a fiber optic backbone so the entire corridor is digitally wired from coast to coast. So yeah, this is way beyond trains. It's becoming a continent-spanning logistics ecosystem. But here's where it gets really interesting, because this isn't happening in a vacuum. Over the last few years, a new buzzword has been dominating global manufacturing: nearshoring. After the pandemic, companies realized that having their supply chains spread across the world, especially in East Asia, was risky. Shipping costs spiked, factories shut down, ports clogged up, and suddenly, cheap manufacturing didn't look so cheap anymore. So companies started moving production closer to home, especially closer to the United States, which still happens to be the largest consumer market on the planet. And guess who sits right next door? Mexico. In just the past 2 years, more than 400 manufacturing projects have relocated from Asia to Mexico. That's massive. And guess where many of them are setting up shop? Right around the Interoceanic Corridor in Oaxaca, Veracruz, and Tabasco. Imagine this. A company in Texas ships parts to Veracruz on the Gulf Coast. Those parts get loaded onto a train, zipped across Mexico in a few hours, assembled into finished goods at one of the new industrial parks, and then shipped straight out of Salina Cruz on the Pacific side, all without ever touching the Panama Canal. That's faster, cheaper, and closer to the biggest consumer base in the world. It's like someone just built a fast lane for trade that bypasses one of the most famous choke points on Earth. And that's exactly what Mexico's betting on. Not to replace Panama, but to offer an alternative. Think of it as a plan B for global trade, because when the canal gets jammed, when droughts dry up its locks, when ships line up for days waiting to pass, this corridor could keep goods moving. But of course, no megaproject comes without some drama. To build something of this scale, the government has had to secure a lot of land, and that's led to clashes with local communities and indigenous groups. They're demanding stronger environmental protections and guarantees that local people actually benefit from the investment. Critics warn that the corridor could turn into a corporate enclave, a stretch of industrial zones serving foreign interests while bypassing local needs. It's a valid concern. History is full of infrastructure projects that promised prosperity and ended up deepening inequality. And then there's the other big player in this story, Panama. You can bet officials there are watching all of this very closely. Every container that crosses Mexico by train is one that doesn't pass through the Panama Canal, which, by the way, has been facing its own set of challenges lately. Droughts have forced Panama to cut back the number of ships it can handle. Water shortages have made tolls spike, and shippers are getting restless. So now we're watching a kind of infrastructure arms race unfold, not a trade war fought with tariffs, but one fought with steel, concrete, and global logistics. Whoever controls the fastest, cheapest route between oceans holds serious power in the 21st century economy. And Mexico knows it. By 2030, the government expects the Interoceanic Corridor to handle around 1.4 million TEUs of cargo every year. That's roughly a tenth of what the Panama Canal moves today. It's not meant to replace it entirely, but rather to complement it, to create redundancy in a global system that's increasingly fragile. Because when the world's supply chains get disrupted, whether by war, pandemic, or climate disasters, having a second route between the Atlantic and Pacific isn't just convenient, it's critical. Now, think about the timing of all this. The Panama Canal was built over a century ago, at a time when steamships ruled the seas. Back then, whoever could shorten shipping routes basically controlled global trade. Today, the same logic applies, except the players and technology have changed. Instead of steamships, we're talking about supply chain optimization, data logistics, and digital freight. Whoever builds the best infrastructure network wins, and Mexico's saying, hey, we're ready to play. It's easy to underestimate what this could mean for the country. For decades, Mexico's economy has been largely defined by its northern manufacturing zones, the maquiladoras near the U.S. border. But if the South starts to industrialize at the same pace, powered by renewable energy, connected by highways, and plugged into digital infrastructure, that's a game changer. It could redistribute wealth across regions, attract global industries, and cement Mexico as the centerpiece of North American trade. And let's be honest, the timing couldn't be better. The United States is eager to secure manufacturing that's close to home, but outside its borders. China is looking for new nodes in its Belt and Road network. Europe wants access to renewable energy hubs and diversified logistics. And Mexico? It's sitting right in the middle, perfectly positioned to benefit from all of it. But there's still that big question hanging over everything. Will it work? Because building infrastructure is one thing, but getting global shipping companies to actually use it is another. The Panama Canal didn't become the center of global trade overnight. It took decades of trust, reliability, and political stability. Mexico has to prove it can deliver the same consistency, efficient customs, safe transport, reliable energy, and transparent governance. If they can pull that off, though, we might be witnessing a major historical shift, the first time since 1914 that Panama's monopoly on ocean-to-ocean trade is seriously challenged. And honestly, it's kind of poetic. Over 100 years ago, engineers dreamed of cutting a second canal across Mexico's Isthmus of Tehuantepec. It never happened. Panama won that race. But now, with rail, ports, and technology all evolving, Mexico's finally resurrecting that dream in a smarter and more sustainable way. It's like the past century's dream is getting a 21st century upgrade. Imagine a ship docking in Salina, Cruz, unloading containers that zip across the country by electric freight train, passing through solar-powered industrial parks before reaching Coatzacoalcos and heading out toward Europe. It's not science fiction, it's literally being built right now. Of course, there are huge challenges ahead: bureaucratic red tape, security issues, environmental concerns, and community pushback. But in a world where the Panama Canal is straining under climate pressure and where global trade routes are increasingly fragile, Mexico's move feels not just ambitious, but necessary. It's about building resilience into the system, giving the world options. And here's the bigger picture. This project isn't just about Mexico's economy. It's about how countries in the global south are starting to take control of their own geography again. They're no longer just passages for global trade, they're becoming players in it. So yeah, the Interoceanic Corridor is risky, bold, maybe even audacious, but it's also visionary. For the first time in more than a century, Panama's not the only player in town. So what do you think? Is Mexico really building the next great artery of world trade, or is this just another billion-dollar dream waiting to get buried by politics and history? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. I'd love to hear where you stand. And if you want to see how this all began, that original $5 billion project that quietly set off Mexico's comeback story, go check out my previous deep dive on the early stages of the Interoceanic Corridor. Don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell so you don't miss what comes next, because this story of global trade is only just getting started.